What was once the Polk County Courthouse now serves as the Polk History Center and houses the Historical Museum and Library. The museum serves Polk's community through special events, volunteer opportunities, and educational programs. The museum's exhibits and programs continue to grow and change as new information and artifacts become available. More details are coming up next on Polk Place. Welcome to Polk Place. I'm Tina Mann, your host, and joining me in the studio today is Dr. Catherine Eskin, Associate Professor of English from Florida Southern College, and also Murtis Young, the Historic Preservation Manager at the Polk County History Center. Welcome to the show. I'm excited about the show today. I'm excited to get to your part, but first, why don't we talk a little bit about what's going on in May. I know May is National Preservation Month, which is, of course, an important thing to the History Center because we're always working on preserving it. But they have kind of a cool campaign going on, so why don't you tell me about that?
Tina, we're really excited to be participating actually in a national program, and the theme this year for Preservation Month is This Place Matters. So we're trying to get the word out to all of our historic partners that this is an opportunity to talk about a place that matters to you. So it's a very simple thing to do. If you have a piece of architecture that you would like to talk about and have preserved and have listed on the National Register, you just have to go take a photo and hold up this little sign, This Place Matters. And it's simply, very simple to just upload these photos to hashtag This Place Matters. And a historic property that's important to you will be listed on the National Register of Historic Places website during the period of time of the preservation.
Absolutely, and it's really easy to do. They can stop by the History Center if they're not quite sure how to do it. I know there's a national website they can upload directly to, but they also can just post to their social media with that hashtag, This Place Matters.
Exactly. The important thing is preservation matters.
And I know if they go look up that hashtag on their social media, they're going to start seeing some of you guys, actually. So that should be a lot of fun. And just kind of going on the same preservation theme, I know that we have a workshop coming up about preserving memories. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
I'm really pleased about that. Lou Ann Mims, who is our research associate at the History Center, is putting together a program. What I'd like to say first is it's not a scrapbooking program, but it's an opportunity for people to come and learn from an expert the appropriate ways to preserve documents and papers and photographs. You know, there's special papers to be used for the preservation, and Lou Ann is going to actually help people put together some ideas on appropriate and proper preservation.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I know that you guys have really started to expand programming up there in the library, and this is the second workshop she's been doing, and it's really an interesting thing.
I think the response was really good for the first one, wasn't it?
It was. People are very interested in preserving their treasures, and we want to help them.
Mm-hmm. Before we move on to Lunch and Learn, why don't we talk a little bit about May's family program?
The family program, Jamie Jameson, our curator of programs and education, has come up with a great idea for our families to come and have some fun. May, in addition to being National Preservation Month, is also going to be it's National Train Day and Bike Month. So Jamie is going to take everybody on a little scavenger hunt, run around the museum, piece together the early transportation development in Polk County, and she's going to help families discover some trails and maybe put together a biking trip. So our young learners and our more mature learners can understand that transportation wasn't just always automatically here, it didn't come up with from a seed, but learn about the early history of transportation in Polk County.
That's exciting. And what we were talking about before this show, and the main event of this show is we're going to be talking a little bit about Jewish history this next month, and there's going to be an exhibit. So why don't you tell me about the Lunch and Learn, which is going to lead into it?
This is a most exciting project for us. Dr. Eskin contacted us, and we had an opportunity to talk with her about a very important project that she's working on in collecting the history of the Jewish families of Polk County. There is such a significant contribution of Jewish families in terms of early economic development and settlement in Polk County. It's very important history, and Dr. Eskin has collected that. This is the first time this information, this very, very important research has been done. We're extremely excited about it, And in May, Dr. Eskin will be our featured speaker at the Lunch and Learn, and she's going to share with us her research and all these wonderful family stories that she has put together. In addition to that, she has agreed to allow us to put together an exhibit with her on some of the items that is in her collection and in the collection of her research. So what I'd like to say is come and see us and participate in this fabulous, fabulous history of the Jewish families of Polk County.
Well, thank you. What a wonderful introduction. On May the 17th, I will be doing the Lunch and Learn, and we're also going to make that the opening for the exhibit. And I want to say first that this project began back in 2007 when I first had an opportunity to do a service learning course. So it began with the idea of wanting to preserve the history, but I also wanted, and this is one of the goals I know of the museum, to get the students involved with it. And since it began I taught my first course in 2008, I've taught probably 9 or 10 courses related to Jewish history and working with the Temple Emmanuel Archive. And while we're called the Temple Emmanuel Archive, and we began as an archive specifically for documents, images, and family histories related to Temple Emmanuel, we really have expanded to try to include all of the Jewish institutions here in Polk County. So that also includes Temple Beth Shalom. I'm still talking with them about how we want to make this work. But it is an electronic archive, which I began in 2007. So we really don't have that many objects. We just don't have the storage space for it. I'm sure that the Polk County History Center can tell you about storage issues.
Yes,
but it's been a wonderful opportunity to get my students. I teach at Florida Southern College, which is a Methodist affiliated school, and so many of my students, in fact most of my students, are not Jewish, and it's a great opportunity to be able to share that culture with them. The students who I'm working with right now, however, are all Jewish. They are part of the college's new Hillel program, so it's been really wonderful to be able to let them share their culture. And especially one of them who will be working with me on a faculty-student collaborative research project in May is an education major, and we're going to be taking some of these artifacts with us to Polk County schools. And so she has put together the curriculum for that, with some instruction, and she's going to be going into probably about 4 or 5 schools in May. So it's really been a wonderful opportunity to have the students involved. And the images which will adorn the walls, those are curated but laid out by another student, Mordecai Wellish, and the student who's doing the trips to the schools is Hannah Keary. So we're really excited.
Oh, that sounds really fascinating. So as part of the exhibit, are the artifacts going to be on display?
Well, we're actually, the way the exhibit's going to work is there will be images along the walls, and each section will represent one of 7 different family units. What's interesting, of course, and this is true in Polk County as well, is that oftentimes, Beatrice Trone and her husband moved here to the Polk County area in around 1945. Then in 1950, her sister and her husband moved down. And then in 1952, another sister and her husband moved down. So while the wall, might say Trone, it's the Trones and the Casavanas and the, it's all of these different family units. It's an incredible web of families. The oldest families that we have in Polk County who still have representatives, the Wolfsons and the Friedlanders, they intermarried as well. So it's really interesting to see where the overlaps are with the images which will adorn the walls. Also included there will be timelines to tell you a little bit about when the family arrived, how, what the family did while they were here, industries, professions. I've got a wonderful image of Leonard Rabin from the senior superlatives. It's an image of him from a yearbook. So there's a nice mix of different kinds of images and different parts of people's lives. I think one of the things I hope that people are going to take away from the exhibit is recognizing that we are all part of Polk County and Polk County's history. And so that's one part, that's what will be on the walls. There will also be 2 cases. Inside one of the cases, you'll see objects related to the Jewish weekly ritual of Shabbat. And then in another case, there'll be objects and things related to the Jewish holidays. But we'll also have a table display, which will allow a little bit more interaction, which will look at bar mitzvahs and confirmations, so that people will be able to look through those at their own pace.
Excellent. And let's talk a little bit about the artifacts.
Sure.
Let's talk about my favorite one first, which is used on High Holy Days, which is
yes, the shofar. So the shofar is made from a ram's horn originally. It can be made really out of any kind of kosher animal. This one has belonged to Temple Emmanuel for some time, and it is used every year for the holiday. On Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, the ritual calls for the use of a shofar, and it must be blown 100 times over the course of the holiday. We spend most of the day in synagogues. So, but the shofar, and a lot of synagogues do this now, a lot of people have their own shofar, and so we have troops. My children also have shofarim that they blow, and shofarim is the Hebrew plural for a shofar. And I'm going to try and blow this for you. I'm going to warn you that it is very loud, okay?
Excellent.
I don't know how it's going to echo in our studio, but.
And can you imagine hearing that 100 times?
100 times. Well, it's done in succession for periods, but it's supposed to be sort of a wake-up call. The new year is a time of reflection, and so the shofar is used to kind of wake people up and get them to think about how they're going to spend the next year of their lives.
That's excellent. So, I mean, don't have time to go over all the artifacts, but you have so many beautiful things on display, and I'm excited to get some stories behind them. I was getting a little bit of the background, and the great thing is, if people attend this Lunch and Learn and they attend this exhibit, these are the things they're going to learn. So I want to thank you so much for coming out today.
My pleasure.
And exempling that for us, because that was awesome. And as always, thanks, Murtis, for coming on.
And thank you for giving us the opportunity. And I'd like to mention, just to think about the depth of Dr. Eskin's work, she actually took a sabbatical when she was concluding this work. And just if you can think of the time and also the expense. And it has such value that we were fortunate that she learned that she was given a grant.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I've been collecting oral histories since 2008, but over the fall semester I collected over 30. And I have a grant through the Florida Humanities Council that is helping to support. We did a presentation back in February. Should have told you about it. But yeah, this grant has allowed me to do the work with the students. It's really, and it got me connected with Murtis, and I appreciate that. I really do. It's been a really nice collaboration.
Well, that's awesome, and I look forward to seeing all of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Polk County has a rich history and heritage, and the Polk County History Center is continuously thinking of new ways to help Polk residents experience that history. The museum's collection includes natural and cultural objects related to Polk and the greater Central Florida area that represent our history from pre-Columbian to present-day eras. The artifacts on display at the museum represent individuals, cultural groups, and events significant to the region. Located at 100 East Main Street in Bartow, the History Center is open Tuesday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. For more information about exhibits and events, you can check them out on the web at polkhistorycenter.org or give them a call at 863-534-4386.